Hi there, this is Mark McRae, and I have another great question. There are two types of businesses, the one that stays open almost 365 days a year, and the one that shuts down in annual holidays. For the ones that stay open almost all year around, when do you start planning for the year end? Well, you should be constantly planning. I like to work through a marketing map and map out the entire year in big chunks, but it's fluid. Things can happen. For example, you might do a launch that never went that well and you have to pivot very quickly. But at least 3 months out, you should be thinking about how you're going to arrange your marketing. And I think also it depends on lead time. If you have a physical product, then that usually takes more planning. One of the businesses I own, it can take 90 days to 100 days before the product arrives in the country and goes through that entire process. So it goes on cycles. But you should always have a kind of plan for what the next 12 months looks like, just broadly. And then every week have a look at that plan and see how you're tracking. It's kind of like an airplane. An airplane doesn't fly from point A to point B. It kind of flies, and then it flies off in a direction. It flies off. Maybe it will fly 15 or 20 degrees off because it knows the wind will blow it back in. So you have to constantly adjust to the market conditions, but you should have some kind of plan of what you want to accomplish that year. In terms of when to open and when not to open, when your staff are off, they're still costing you money, right? Especially if it's all an entirely outsourced staff, it might not. But most businesses, public holidays, big, like Christmas, New Year, the big ones, you might be closed, but your overheads don't stop. But it's a balance between looking after your staff and appreciating the fact that they have families, they want some downtime. They are assuming, usually for Christmas and New Year, there's an assumption that you're going to be closed. But what happens a few days before and after is usually where the contention comes in. In some businesses, I'll close for 2 weeks. So we might have a team of anywhere from 20 plus people. And during that Christmas, New Year period, we will close the entire organization other than one support person who basically just answers really urgent questions. But we have an autoresponder set up to say that we're going to be closed from this date to this date so that everybody can rest. And that seems to work quite well. Other businesses, that's not really practical because there are things that need to be dealt with constantly on a daily basis. But again, that comes to planning as well. I'm recording this in August, and this is a good time to plan for Christmas, for staff and leave and who does what. Some organizations, the person who works Christmas will be off New Year's, and the person who works New Year's will be off Christmas, So the staff themselves will often organize when they want to work. But yeah, it depends on the organization as to when you would close and the type of business that it is. I hope that answers that question. Anyway, thanks for all of the questions. I love getting the questions, but don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave us some feedback.